Hi, I'm Ksenia Turkova. Today is July 6th, and it means that 6 years ago, on that day, I moved from Ukraine to the United States. 6 years. Here's my first picture taken in America. I just landed, and my Ukrainian friend Anna, who also moved here from Kyiv, but 2 years earlier than me, just met me and took me to my friend's place where I stayed the first 2 weeks before I even rented an apartment. How did I move here? I want to share that story with you. It's actually a chain of coincidences. So it was the summer of 2016 when I first came to the United States, when I first visited United States for the vacation. It was also in July. I stayed like 5 days in New York City and then almost 3 weeks here in Washington, D.C. Because I was participating in a training for the teachers for bilingual kids. I'm a Russian language professor, as I probably told you before. So I was staying here, and on July 20th, I woke up in a hotel room in the middle of the night because my phone was exploding from the calls and messages, and I opened my eyes and I started reading all this, and that's how I knew that my Ukrainian colleague who I worked with on the radio, Pavel Sheremet, was killed. He was about to drive to work early in the morning and his car exploded. I was shocked. I can't even describe my emotions. I knew Pavel from the times we worked together in Moscow, and then we both moved to Ukraine, and I was absolutely devastated. I remember I went to Great Falls Park with a group of colleagues from the training, and I was just standing there looking at the water and crying. And then I got a call from my very old friend and colleague from New York City. We used to work together 20 years ago on one of the Russian TV channels. And he said, look, it might be dangerous for you to stay in Kyiv. We don't know who killed Pavel. Maybe Russia is persecuting the former Russian journalists, and you never know what can happen. He said, let me introduce you to people from Voice of America. Who knows, maybe you could get a job here. So to be honest, I didn't want to move anywhere from Kyiv. I was so happy there. And also at that particular moment, I couldn't even think about anything because I was shocked. I couldn't think straight. So I said yes, but more just to be polite, and again because I couldn't think straight. I was in shock. And I met the head of the Russian service of Voice of America. We talked, and when I came back to Kyiv, I got a job offer. I absolutely didn't expect it. I didn't know what to do. I had can you imagine, I have a happy life in Ukraine. I love this country. I have a job I love. I worked for the independent TV channel Hromadske. And after all, I have a 6-year-old son. I'm a single mom, and it will be just very stressful and difficult for me to move. That's how I was thinking. So I was thinking and postponing the decision. And finally in January, maybe, so that was in summer. In January, I decided that I won't move. And apparently they told me they couldn't wait anymore. But in March, they told me again it was still on. So I decided to come one last time to the United States, to spend a week in Washington, and, to make a final decision. I think it was the toughest decision in my life. It was so difficult to decide to move. But finally, in July of 2017, I moved here. And I want to tell you about the first 2 things I did before even renting a place to live. On the second or third day, I found, first of all, I found an Orthodox church to go to. It's very important to me. And I found a dancing community. And I can tell you guys that going to church and to dancing classes are the two best ways to socialize in a new country. In the church, I immediately found a lot of useful contacts, new friends, and even people who offered to take my son for a couple of days so I could have some rest or go on a date. As for dancing, I started dancing in Kiev, and it was a huge and very important part of my life. I danced boogie woogie, and I even won the first contest I took part in. You see what I have? It's a cup for the first place in this contest. I immediately found the swing dancing community, and it became my second family. I found friends, I found a lot of support. I took part in the Independence Day parade here in DC. I made tons of great memories, and you know, this community was so supportive when the war started. I felt like my Ukrainian dance family and my American dance family were united. And I'm so grateful to Ukraine for opening for me that whole world of dancing. Of course, life was not easy for me and my son here. It's much more expensive than in Ukraine. I had to adjust to a different lifestyle, to a different level of life. I don't have any relatives here, and I couldn't afford hiring a babysitter, so it was really tough. Really tough. I didn't have any name or reputation here either. Nobody here in the US knew me. I was a no-name journalist, so I felt like I had to start my career from scratch. And sometimes I was thinking maybe I made a mistake. Why didn't I stay in Ukraine? At the same time, some inner voice was telling me that I made the right decision. First of all, I think moving was very good for my son. He's not an easy child. He was adopted, as I probably told you. He already moved twice. He saw different events in his life. He has ADHD, and the attitude towards ADHD is completely different in America and in the former Soviet countries. Finally, I met my husband here in the middle of COVID at my friend's place, and we got connected through poetry because we both write it. What are my achievements after 6 years here? I don't know. I have a family. I got 2 dogs. I've never had a dog in my life. I have my dancing family. I have a job I like. I got a gold medal at one of the film festivals for a documentary. I give lectures at American universities, and I teach kids, bilingual kids. And finally, I have a YouTube channel, and I have you, and I'm very thankful for your support. Who and what do I miss living here? Of course, I miss my mom and my relatives in Russia, and I hope someday when there is no Putin and no war, I can go there. I miss Ukraine. You can't imagine how much I miss Ukraine. I see it in my dreams. I feel guilty that I'm not there to help, that I'm not sharing this tragedy with Ukrainian people, with my friends. Although, again, I'm not Ukrainian, I'm originally Russian. I miss Kiev. I miss Ukrainian coffee and boogie woogie. I'm happy here, but I wish someday I could record one of these videos from Kiev for you. So glory to Ukraine, and thank you, America.